How will the new Social Security rule impact our lives? The Social Security Administration aims to bolster its defenses against fraud. This initiative requires in-person identity verification for certain individuals. Critics argue it creates an undue burden, particularly for vulnerable populations. The debate centers on balancing security and accessibility. While some see it as a necessary step for protection, others view it as an obstacle to access. At the heart of the SSA's new approach lies a seemingly straightforward requirement: in-person identity verification. This means that individuals who are unable to access or navigate the agency's online systems will be mandated to visit a local SSA office. The stated purpose of this change is to prevent fraudulent activities and ensure that only rightful beneficiaries receive benefits. Proponents of the new rule argue that it mirrors security measures employed by other institutions, such as banks, which often require in-person verification for certain transactions. They contend that this added layer of protection is essential for maintaining the integrity of the Social Security system. However, critics argue that this comparison is flawed, as Social Security serves as a lifeline for millions of Americans, many of whom face significant challenges in accessing in-person services. Concerns about the new rule's potential impact on vulnerable populations have taken center stage in the ongoing debate. Organizations like AARP have voiced strong criticism, highlighting the disproportionate burden this policy places on the elderly and disabled individuals. These groups often face mobility issues, lack reliable transportation, and may have difficulty navigating bureaucratic processes, requiring them to make their way to a local SSA office for in-person verification presents a significant obstacle. AARP's critique underscores the importance of ensuring that security measures do not inadvertently create barriers for those who rely on Social Security the most. The organization argues that the SSA should prioritize accessibility and explore alternative solutions that do not disproportionately impact vulnerable beneficiaries. Adding to the complexity of this issue is the backdrop of recent SSA office closures across the country. These closures, often attributed to budget constraints, have already made it more challenging for individuals to access SSA services in person. The implementation of the new in-person verification requirement is expected to exacerbate this problem, leading to longer wait times, increased travel distances, and greater inconvenience for beneficiaries. An internal SSA memo estimates that the new rule could result in an additional 75,000 to 85,000 weekly office visits. This surge in demand for in-person services is likely to strain an already overburdened system, potentially leading to delays and frustration for those who rely on Social Security for their financial well-being. Critics argue that the SSA should address its existing accessibility challenges before implementing new policies that could further limit access to essential services. The SSA defends its new rule by comparing it to bank fraud prevention measures. Just as banks require in-person verification, the SSA argues it must protect against fraud. Critics argue this overlooks Social Security's essential role for millions of Americans. Social Security is a vital safety net, unlike private banks. The SSA's push for enhanced security measures comes amidst heightened concerns about fraud within the system. However, it's essential to examine the context of these concerns and the actual rate of improper payments. While there have been isolated incidents of fraud, data suggests that these cases represent a small fraction of overall Social Security payments. A July 2024 report by the Social Security Inspector General found that less than 1% of payments between 2015 and 2022 were improper. This finding suggests that while fraud prevention is undoubtedly important, the scale of the problem may not warrant such sweeping changes that disproportionately impact vulnerable beneficiaries. Critics argue that the SSA should focus on targeted interventions to address specific areas of vulnerability, rather than implementing blanket policies that create barriers for all beneficiaries. The SSA's new rule raises a critical question: at what cost do we pursue enhanced security? Preventing fraud is crucial, but we must consider unintended consequences. The new in-person verification burdens the elderly, disabled, and rural residents, potentially undermining Social Security's purpose. The SSA must consider advocates' concerns and explore alternatives. Balancing security and accessibility ensures Social Security remains a lifeline.